Welcome to another exciting episode of Women at the Front Lines. Women Rise in Uganda at Civic Space TV. Today, I am so excited. I do not know how to contain it. I get to host a very interesting woman in this country. She has been an artist. You know, artists never stop being artists. So she is an artist and she is a food rights activist and a human rights activist. That is Miss Kirabo Agnes. And I am so excited to have you here today on the show. I am very certain that at the end of the show, we shall have laughed, learned, and dived deep into what you are, Kirabo. I am so honored to host you.
I'm also humbled to be here, and greetings to you all viewers. It's humbling. It's really humbling. I know we are 51% of Uganda's population as women.
Oh, true,
but
yeah.
Yes, but being picked out of the 20 and so million women in the country, it's humbling. I can't take it for granted. Thank you so much for hosting me.
Thank you. My name is Donna Keirungi. I'll be your host today. And let's go straight to the gist of the matter today. So, Miss Kirabo Agnes, by the way, she is also a royal, 75% royal. So she tells me.
I'm Nava.
She is Nava. So what was it like growing up? What were your privileges? What was your life like as a child growing up?
I grew up in a contemporary traditional society, a rural society in Uganda. We are around 10 to 15 kilometers out of Kampala.
Oh.
But up to the present day, I go home and I really feel I've gone home. It is still a village. So
Okay.
I grew up in a village, like any other village of 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
One would imagine. We never had a lot of privileges away from the other peers in the community. Maybe what I could determine as a privilege, my father was a civil servant, and my mother was an educated woman. My mother is a chartered secretary.
Oh.
But she was a housewife. Upon being
Okay.
married, my father kept her home.
Interesting.
Yes, and that's how we grew up. Perhaps maybe what I could call a privilege. Then we're just a few households that had UEB. We used to be called UEB, children of today know you Umeme.
Umeme, yes.
Yes, for us we used to call it UEB, Uganda Electricity Board. I think that was a privilege. It wasn't common
absolutely.
in a rural area. And maybe perhaps that we had an indoor bathroom. But
Wow.
the rest of the things, we could walk through the community, and there weren't so many households that at least had those two. But the rest of the rest of life was as it were in a rural setting, I believe.
So if it's okay to ask, what schools did you go to? How did you transition through school? How was school then?
When I reflect on my school work life, I'm really, I think, a very committed person.
Yeah.
I went to one school in primary, one school through secondary.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, and I have worked for just a few organizations. To answer your question specifically, I went to a rural school, which is currently a UPE school. It's Mugongo Primary School.
For all your 7 years?
For all my 7 years, plus one preschool year. Just here, you can approach my community either from Chengera or from Kaboja. So that's the school I went to.
Yes.
I'm still among the lucky few adults. My school is still there, and it is not about to go away.
Okay.
It's a church-based school, so it is called the Mugongo Church of Uganda Primary School. That's where I went. And after P7, I went to St. Bali Kodembe, Senior Secondary School, Mitala Maria.
Still for all the 6 years? For
all the 6 years. That's how committed.
Does that mean it was commitment on your part or good manners? That's
I'm
amazing.
not certain, but I think I just found myself in that, and I thank God for that,
Yeah.
because so many children would have loved to go through such, but under different circumstances,
Yeah.
sometimes not
Yeah.
entirely dependent on the child,
Mm.
that they keep shifting from one place to the other. But I thank God that at least I sat in those schools for 8 years, for 6 years in Mitara Maria. And then thereafter, I went to Makerere
Oh
University. I'm
yes.
an alumni of Makerere
Oh
University. I'm a
yes.
boxer, very proud boxer.
I I know boxers and Mary Stewart are so you're together.
Yes, all the look boxes out
Yes.
there. And my alumni of
So
Makerere
that's why it's
University.
shocking that you say you are such a proud boxer,
Yes.
and we know what associates with box. It's the vibe, the good life, and then you actually told me you're an artist. That while on
Yeah.
campus you were doing this whole artist
Yes,
life. You act, you
I was.
sing, you
Yeah, I
shall
was.
lead a cappella. So how do you associate that you were a boxer and you went to these schools, one school at a go? That means by going to these schools, one school for primary, one school for high school, you were a calm, quiet person.
Not really, not really.
Okay.
I have never been calm,
Oh,
and
sorry.
I'm not apologetic.
True.
I have never been calm. That's not how our mother raised us
Oh
up.
yes.
Our mother worked really so hard. I tried to engage her on several occasions on so many things that I reflect on later on in my life, and I say that they shaped who I am.
Yeah.
She taught us to speak out.
Oh yes.
She taught us public speech.
Amazing.
Yes, because every evening, like a wife to a public servant, by around 6, all the chores are done at home. Even if you went to school, you're back.
Yeah.
And she would have an hour with us, reading for us Luganda novel books.
Oh.
And she would read a chapter, and then thereafter a Bible scripture, and then we reflect on that scripture together. But then when she's done with the book, we start the book.
Oh yes.
We start the book, and then we do it in turns. Because
sorry to cut you short. How many children were you?
If it's okay I have never labored to count how many are we, but
it's okay. It's fine.
we are a good number.
Okay.
We are a good number. But
and your mother would sit all of you down, read
yeah,
for you.
you sits together with us, and then she reads Zizinunula or Nketambizinga or Kaboka Mwala. I remember she would only read for us the Luganda books. And she really labored that we learn to speak Luganda, we learn to read Luganda and fluently. So after a session, she has taken through a chapter. She would then give you, if you're on it's your turn, give you, and then you read the previous chapter.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, and she would tell you to stand up, and you imagine 100 people before you and that you're reading for them.
Wow.
So she taught us about public speech. And all of us could do church readings by the age of 10. We could stand up in church. So she taught us how to stand up, not always to wait to be picked.
Okay.
If she had not done that, I don't think I have been a favored person.
So do you think what she was doing with you as children, do you think it influenced your love for art, your love for standing out, speaking out all the time?
Yes, because I think somehow it taught me that that's where I belong. That's me, and that is what it should be. Amazing. So in school, even if I was not given an opportunity, maybe I wasn't so beautiful, I don't know, for some reason. I was not always the first choice. If they bring new songs, those of you who are my age, you recall they would bring towards speech day. They bring a new song. Yes, I never had an opportunity to always be the first choice, but maybe God was preparing me that I do not need any person's endorsement.
Oh, yes.
I have to fight my
If
way
they don't
through.
invite you to the table, you bring your own chair.
Yeah, because I look back to all my peers who are being given.
Yeah.
I don't see them. I don't
Oh,
see them.
oh, okay.
God was preparing me for that. So,
Yes.
but I would always find my way
Mm.
through, because for me they would bring a song and say, Donna, go and go through this script.
Yes.
I would ask for an opportunity to go through the script as well. And I thank
Okay.
my teachers. I was always given a second second chance.
Yeah.
So, and I would go through those scripts, whether it is for a song or a role in a play, and I was always a dangerous substitute. And Donna, make a mistake.
Yes.
Make a mistake, and you don't appear.
Yes.
I would give you a run.
Your role is taken.
I would give you a run for your role.
Amazing.
So I think your question was,
yes.
Was I calm? I was never calm. I was a go-getter.
Okay.
I was a go-getter.
Okay.
Even when all rules and whatever would suggest that I am not. Inside me, I had that spirit that yes, I am, and I will always look forward to that opportunity. So I end up in a secondary school.
Yeah.
And this was the only school then that was singing. This singing that I'm hearing every school singing. And you do not know which one is now singing and which one was the other. But for us when we were in school, it was the only school with masterpieces in the country. Yes, and I think I don't stop thanking God for giving us such opportunities.
Okay,
our choir master now, who is celebrating 33 years of composing songs for secondary school, Paul Saka. I got in school, I think he had sat for senior 4, and a house, because I share a house with him. It was called Sekamanya House. This was a Catholic school. So the houses were named after bishops. So our house was Sekamanya. It had won the school competitions. I went to a school that was singing, that was acting. A school that was identifying talent and giving opportunities. Me, the go-getter. There I was. So, and I was at that. Then I ended up doing my diploma in a music, dance, and drama. But before going to the university, I had been introduced to art groups in Kampala. So I was performing. I remember I got an award as the artist of the month. When I was still in secondary school, I acted in a play. It was called Opera Nursery. And and I was acting as an old woman, and I was chosen to be the artist of the month. So
amazing.
Maybe I was quiet in certain ways.
How did you transition from being that child and to now, if I'm to draw us instantly to today, to now being the food rights activist that you are? Do you think you missed out on your mom's? You earlier told me that you had a vision of what you wanted your life to be like.
Yes.
And so when you reached a certain age, you felt, this is it. I'm done with this chapter of my acting. And you'd want to transition into something. How did you come to reach at that decision? You
see, I go to a Luganda church service and I read the Luganda Bible. But in the Bible, there is a scripture that literally says, teach a child the way, and even when that child grows up, will never depart from it. My mother raised me through the Church of Uganda, even when we were a Catholic family. But my mother is Anglican, so I'm an Anglican and a proud Anglican, and I'm not apologetic to that. So there is the way the princess raised her daughters and her sons as a Ganda cultured, but also the Christian values. And here I am. For some reason, I end up in art, which I'm so proud, because that also makes me distinct and different from any other advocate and an activist who I am now. I went into acting and I did act. One thing for sure is, for me, when I do something, I do it perfectly well that when I end that story, I have ended it.
Oh.
There is nothing like I've said, I didn't do this how I wish I didn't live before I did this. I do everything perfectly well.
Wow.
So I did my art perfectly well. I got an award. What else didn't I do?
So you don't feel like when I was 23 I could have done something.
But because the sector I don't know now because it is quite so many years since I left. But the art industry wasn't decent for girls.
Okay.
Yes, it wasn't decent for girls. It was dominated by exploitation of any form. Just to mention it. Just to think of any form of exploitation.
Wow.
That was the definition of that industry then. I do not know what is happening now. And inside me, the way my mother raised me, I knew this is not where I belong.
Okay.
So much as I love the art, I loved, stage life and all of that, fame and so on. I said, this is not how my mother raised me. This is not where I belong.
Yeah.
And I think somehow inside me, I was an activist already.
Yes.
And I would push back.
Yes.
And so the more you push back in an environment that is so toxic like that, then the industry can't work for you because the industry then was flourishing on favors,
Yeah.
So if you're a pushback, if you're a resistant person,
and you know what you want,
then those people who have it are not going to give it to you. I'm not going to mention names. Some are dead, some are still living.
Yeah.
But those were the days.
True.
So I inside me again set a goal that when I make 23 years, I will quit the industry.
How were you able to do that? You see, today at 23, I must say when I was 23, I do not know what I was doing at 23. I was simply living through. So how are you able to sit back that today you will tell your 23-year-old self, thank you, Agnes, you did it.
And by the way, if I'm going to scope my goal, I don't scope it that day. I set targets because some of the things that people regret their decisions. They make a decision they think of a decision today and make it today.
Yes.
No, me, I make my decisions and I give myself time to cut ties, especially emotional ties. Because when you're doing something, you get into it, you invest in your emotions. So you can't just cut it. That's accidental.
Yeah.
So I gave myself time. I said when I make 23, I will quit. I think I'm not apologetic on so many things, but for this one, I'm apologetic. Because my 23rd birthday fell on a Sunday, and we had a performance at National Theatre through the weekend. So I didn't turn up.
What?
I didn't turn up on Sunday. So I acted on Friday, I acted on Saturday.
And that is
Sunday was 1st June, and it was my 23rd birthday. I didn't turn up. I think that was really, really very bad. That one I regret it because there is this whole establishment and I'm telling you,
counting on you,
if I do something, I do it so perfectly. So I can just imagine I must have caused the turmoil for those people.
And that was it?
And that was it.
On Monday, you did not think maybe I need to...
I even changed the location. And those days, we never had phones.
Yes.
So if I'm known to be in Mugongo, that is where all the people I'm working with that my home is in Mugongo. I shifted and went to Bunamwaya. And even my mother didn't know where I was.
Wow.
Yes, she didn't know where I was. So when they tried to follow me, my mother was also asking me, where is she? She didn't know where I was. I went into hibernation. It's very difficult to shed off art appearance. I look at people and, I looked at the likes of the Chameleons and the Bobby Wines, how they managed, and they are still struggling to shed off art. It's really, really very, very difficult getting out of that skimpy dressing. Sometimes I still do skimpy dresses.
Yeah.
The colored air.
You don't just wake up and walk away from it.
Yeah, but I went away and then lived with my guardian. They took good care of me.
By then you had finished university?
I had finished university. Acting was my source of livelihood, so I had quit. I didn't know where to go, but I had quit. I stayed home and I started doing digging.
Okay.
But of course, I was a regular church girl in my
Yeah.
skimpy and colored hair and
Despite all
everything.
that,
Yes,
that's
because that's
good.
how my mother raised me up.
Yes.
So I could go to church having painted myself and some people come to me and give me feedback. They say, you've changed, but not so much. So I went, and my work to do in that home was to go to the farm, the garden. We could wake up, go and dig. God favored me. I love that woman, my mother, at that end, would be in the garden. And then as you pause to rest a bit, she would say she's not comfortable working with me on the garden because she feels that is not where I belong. I owe her my inspiration. That woman, how I wish she knew how I hold
at
her
every stage.
in
She
my
saw
heart.
you and she saw
No,
you
that is not
evolving.
my mother. Then I shifted and went to my guardian's
Your
home.
guardian's home.
I'm a Ganda woman. My guardian father is father and his wife is mom.
Your mother, yes.
So I was working with that mom of mine. And God's grace found me there. Our farm was opposite a rich man's home.
Oh, yes.
So he would drive out and see us on the farm. And you know, agriculture is very motivating. What was a bush yesterday, today there are beans and sprouting. Yes. And then you see people harvesting. It's quite very amazing.
Yeah.
And luckily we are going to the same church. So one day at church, after church service, he came to me and said, I was told that you are a university graduate. I said, yes. And I see you in the garden. I said, yes. How could you keep on the farm when you are in? I said, that is what is available. Yes. To be done. So I have to do it. He said, okay. What did you study? Yeah. I told him, I have a diploma in music, dance, and drama. His breath skipped a bit. He said, okay, I do not understand what you study in that course well. Yeah. But I think one time, create time and you come to my office. He directed me that I go to his office to tell him what you know now. Yes. Don't I tell you what? I had been elected on the church executive already. I was elected as a secretary to the church executive. So this gentleman was the secretary for development. Oh, yeah. And we started bonding. He's 21 years dead. Rest in great power, Amos. He found me. Oh, okay. Then he took me to his NGO. Yes. And this was an NGO doing agriculture service delivery. Oh, yes. Besides the managers and those that are in administration, the whole staff establishment were agriculturalists. And here comes an artist. Yeah, how do you pay an artist? How does the artist deal with the food? I think the gentleman really wanted to give me an opportunity, but he never had an opportunity to give me. Okay. By virtue of where I was coming from. And I recall he said, okay, I don't have a job for an artist, but the only opportunity I give you, you keep coming here and not as a stranger. What happens to you? I do not know. Oh, amazing. Bless his soul. Yes, rest in power, Amos Galiwango. So I started going to this NGO. Remember the grooming my mother gave me. Yes. I was open to work. I was open to do anything. I would present myself for anything. For anything. Please, mothers that are watching me. Guardians that are watching me. Yes. It is not school that is not going to shape your child. True. No. True. School did not shape me. It's my mother who shaped me. True. So I get into this environment of an agricultural NGO. I'm thrown into that pool. I was available to do anything. I was available to do anything. And I thank the people that I met in Vedico that time. They gave me all sorts of opportunities, from making tea, taking their shoes to the Cobra, picking their children to school, doing shopping for them in the markets, verifying accountabilities in finance,
Oh, yes.
writing accounts books to support the accounts department in audit, sitting at the front desk, sitting in for the receptionist, taking minutes in the staff
In the
meetings and the
meetings,
other
yes.
meetings. And what I did everything. Thank you guys for giving me
A
that
chance,
opportunity
yes.
and giving me that chance.
Opening up for you, yes.
Amos again give me another opportunity because a new radio station, a Catholic radio station, was opening up, Radio Sapiencia. I applied. It's a Catholic based radio station. An Anglican appeared. I applied. I told the panel that I'm an Anglican, and I never expected them to give me the job.
Okay.
Thank you guys at the Catholic Secretariat.
Okay.
So I did the interview and went home and continued with my life.
Oh, yes.
Remember, we used not to have phones then.
Yes,
The
yes,
phones were not so popular. So somebody in my community, an opening, a radio station coming up, they would play music and do some announcements. Some person in my community heard that radio and looking for me.
Oh, yes.
So they went to my mother.
So they announced it on radio while you're home for
yes.
you. You thought these Catholics
These people
cannot,
don't come. I knew they would not, but I was trying my luck.
Okay.
But they did give me an opportunity,
Yes.
and then were part of the pioneer presenters of Radio Sapiencia.
Oh, yes.
I was doing a morning show with Patrico Mujuka, the best companion person I've worked with.
I was wondering how I've known you before. Now I know.
Yeah, I worked with Patrico.
Yes.
Patrico, big up guys, big up guy. Patrico is one of my confidants. You know, when you're working with somebody and you agree to do something. We survived together. We agreed on so many things. We didn't disagree.
Okay.
Patrico afuna sente no nera.
Okay.
Yeah. And I served on that radio. I went back to Amos and I told him, you see, I have gotten this opportunity on this radio station. Said, wow. And he was like, okay, when does the radio require you? Said from 6 to 9. He said, good. You do your radio talk show and then later on, come here and work.
True. Oh, those are people you don't find.
You can't find.
Yeah.
You can't find. So I worked on the radio. There were so many opportunities and there were so many challenges. The people I worked with then, no. Did I say I was terminated? No.
Not yet.
Did I say I resigned? No.
So what happened?
But I left.
So you didn't hand in any letters? You just didn't show up next time?
No, what happened?
Just like you ditched music, you ditched us.
This time around I had learned. Because I'm a learning person, I'll tell you a bit of that. What I did is that we were having challenges. So Tano and Patrico, I told him I have gotten an opportunity. We are going to go in the field and kubacheyo.
Yeah.
So because
that is at the food place?
No, at the radio station.
Oh yes, okay.
So I'm a former person. That is how my mother raised me again. Again, one of the reasons why I left art. Yes. The absence of any bit of formality. So in this radio station, I applied for leave. And the Reverend Father, who was named D, authorized my leave in writing and even said, but I'm not going to be paid for the days not worked. I said, Kawa. So I went and did my cheyo. On coming back, I found an instruction that I'm not allowed on air, that I have to first talk to Father. So I sat in front of Father's office in his lobby. For the whole day. He would come in and go out, come in and go out, come in and go out for the whole day.
As if you're invisible.
I was very invisible with all this height. Yeah. The Reverend Father could not see me. Yes. So eventually at around 4, when he entered after his siesta, they always have siesta moments. Okay. I entered along his back. And I said, Father, I have sat here and I believe you have been seeing me since morning. He told me so many things, but I told him, okay, Bye. I went on the pigeonhole, picked my stuff, went and sat comfortably in Vedco, and started moving on with my career.
Okay, that's how you get into the food rights activism.
Not yet.
Oh yeah.
In
Okay.
Vedco, I did so many things, but you know, people do not know what is involved in music, dance, and drama. Hope the curriculum is as still as it was when I was at the university.
Okay.
I'm telling you, for every child, if for every parent, if there was an opportunity, push your child through that diploma first.
Oh yes.
No, nothing will challenge him or her. I really treasure the knowledge I got in that diploma
course.
But one of the things, it is one course that I don't know whether it is happening in other professions, because you have a major field and then you have a professional specialization.
Oh yeah, how is that?
Yes, you have to major.
Like you major in drama, and
even in drama you have to major in something. Drama is broad.
Oh.
So in drama, I majored in scripting.
Oh yes. So even in drama, you cannot just be a script and one working on the script. The actress,
there is production. There is there is makeup and cosmetology. There is stage design. There is acoustic engineering. The engineering of sound. There are quite so many. So for me, I majored in scripting. So I write scripts. I write stories.
Wow.
I do that. But for professional specialization, I specialized in radio and TV production.
Oh, yes. Oh, Jesus. That's all, like, we come from MDD to mass comm. That is broad, really. Every child needs it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I went to an NGO, I had space because this NGO was in training farmers. But they needed behavior change, and they needed scripts for behavior change. They needed somebody who can talk to the community. You translate something very technical into content that a person of any age, of any education background, in any situation can understand. And that is drama, because drama is drama art is representing real life on stage. True. So I got in there. And Amos gave me an opportunity to go and study information management at Uganda Management Institute. So I got then deeper into information, and that organization would give us a lot of capacity building and stuff. So here came the movement of advocacy. Yeah. I'll not tell you about other things, but here came the movement of advocacy. Remember, these are scientists of some sort, agriculturists, and this was a wastage. Me, I jump on every new knowledge that comes on the globe into learning advocacy. So I got into advocacy. They created a position of advocacy officer. I was the first advocacy officer. That is at Vedco. I'm not yet at Food Alliance. Yes. I get into advocacy, and then they grew the portfolio to advocacy and communication. And remember, people, and you've already got your... I had people one day saying, what are artists doing in radio and TV stations? They do not know that MDD is the heart of communication. Yeah. So when they grew the portfolio to advocacy and communication, I took it up. I could not be competed. Yeah. So I started my career as an advocate. I started advocating as an advocate for farmers' rights and agriculture. The vision of Vedco was improved quality of life for small and medium holder farmers. That was the vision. And I was advocating because to see that we get the lives of the farmers. But one day when I was walking in the corridors of Parliament, I met a member of Parliament. I was doing a campaign, a maize campaign. And this member of Parliament said, oh, poor girl, look at her. She's here. Do you know that farmers have already had their potatoes and in the look of things, you've not even had your lunch. And indeed, I had not eaten lunch. That year, I sat and reflected. I do personal reflection. I sit in a personal meeting. I hold an annual... With you yourself. Yes, I hold an annual general meeting with myself. Yes, an annual grand, but several staff meetings that I hold with my
yourself.
the CEO of my life. And that year, we resolved in our annual general meeting, me and
you and
myself,
yourself.
that I need to change from advancing the rights of farmers, because so many policymakers and decision makers are descendants of farmers, but they don't want to identify with that.
True.
So I shifted to food.
Oh, yes.
That is around
So,
2007.
2007.
Yeah,
Yes.
2007, but I was still at Vedico. I told you I'm a very committed person.
I see now. It makes sense.
I would still be working for Radio Sapienza if such things didn't happen. But I worked for Vedico for 12 years.
So now I get why you chose to join the space of particularly fighting for the rights to food.
Yes.
So what have you learned in this space in our country today?
One thing I have learned is that Uganda is an open space.
Yes.
And I wish to encourage everybody seeing this show. Uganda is an open space. Stop complaining about who has not given you the opportunity. The world will never give you what you deserve. The world will only give you what you have negotiated for.
True.
Please negotiate your personal space. If you've not been given, create your own space. There is a lot of space in this country. A lot of space. But one thing why people do not want to go and venture into their own spaces is the fear to start. Sure, starting Donna is very, very difficult because you're picking bits from the mud and water and whatever and building something, and not so many people want to identify
but Ms.
with
Kirabo,
that.
Do you really think it's all about fear? Because talking about food and access to food, I will not stop talking about Bushenyi people. Bushenyi in 2006 around there were studies that showed that Bushenyi was producing the highest amounts of milk. But around the same time, Bushenyi had the most malnourished children. Reasons being the milk that is produced is instantly taken to where? To the market. So that means there are other factors.
For you, you're talking about Bushenyi, which had the milk and matoke.
Yes.
When you look at the hotspots of malnutrition in this country, Toro is one of them.
Yes.
But Toro is also topping in this country as a region with very diverse foods.
Exactly. So how do you navigate that space that we have these
And that is what I'm telling you, that you see, every time you see a challenge is a great opportunity. And I want to encourage people who are seeing this show.
Yes.
For me, I saw an opportunity. I thank God the grace led me into that. I saw an opportunity when I started talking about food and food rights 10 years ago plus. I was the laughing stock to so many people. Even in the human rights space.
Everyone eats food. Why are you talking about food?
Even in the human rights space, I never had space.
Yeah.
We are still pushing, even in the human rights space, for people to appreciate that the human right to food is the fundamental human rights upon which all other rights thrive. But I have struggled. Donna, I have struggled. I have been there consistently. Consistent is the word. I'm defined by 3 C's, Donna. I'm defined by 3 things. One is consistency.
Yeah.
Another C is courage.
Yes.
And another C is communication.
Oh, yes.
I'm very consistent. I have courage to communicate to you what I feel that you need to know.
Okay.
And that is how I have been able to navigate. Remember, I told you, when I was when I was growing up, my mother did not teach us to be given.
True.
She taught us to negotiate for what we feel. Yes. So she taught us how to negotiate.
Yes.
And even say, may I be given an opportunity to try this? And when you've been given an opportunity, she used to tell us that opportunity of you trying is not going to come again. Nobody is going to ask you to try, and then you come back and say, can I try again? You try once, and you must convince the person who has given you an opportunity.
Yeah.
The other thing that our mother taught us when we were growing up that has shaped me into that, my mother taught us how to respect food in its totality.
Okay.
My mother would tell us, if you go to harvest a banana, don't harass that stalk that has given you the banana. Give it a lot of respect. Cut it peacefully when you're harvesting the banana. Cut it, Simanyi, do you what? Lay it down properly. Simanyi, do what? Then cover it, because it is going to feed you.
Again.
If you're going to harvest cassava, first weed around the cassava plant properly. Then dig out the tubers. Then lay the cassava stems properly.
And put them back inside.
Properly. And she was saying, if you want to see how the woman's bedroom looks like, you don't need to go to her bedroom. Just walk through her garden. Our mother taught us to respect her hoe.
Yeah. Okay.
Her hoe had a name.
Okay. Bali bajita.
Bwali wanyina.
Bwali wanyina.
Yes, that had traits of farming are picked from her mother. So her bwali wanyina had to sleep properly and clean. She told us, you don't hide your hose in the garden. How can you be so lazy to carry something that feeds you? It has to go home and sleep properly. And before going to bed, she would go to the store to inspect. Let her find, when you're a child,
you just pick wali wanyina and
you throw it there. Yeah. She comes and wali wanyina's stick is like this. She would come for you. The saucepan, the knife, the plate, the basket. Today we are talking about a food system. That is how my mother raised me. So I owe her all my inspiration, because she taught me that my life was all about that food and the means that make it be on my plate. My mother taught me that we are not supposed to waste food. Mama, it was a very big crime to serve food and you don't eat it. So when people sit with me and we are eating, they imagine I'm greedy. No, but now globally by principle, it is immoral to serve food and you don't eat it. It is actually very immoral, very shaming. You had to eat the food. You don't eat it, you're not going to leave the eating place. You does, she brings the bowl, covers your food. You wake up, the food is there. The next day you will not serve it. So now I'm in food. I repeat myself. When you're raising your children, the schools are not going to shape your child. The schools that I went to, the studies that I have done through Makerere to Chambogo and now back to Makerere, they have only accompanied me in the journey my mother rooted me to walk.
Okay. So now we look at your mother and all that she has done. This is all thanks to her.
Yep.
You today as Agnes, what are you doing as a parent to pass on these very valuable traits and values that you learned from her?
I've raised very big girls and very big boys. I'm a mother of nations.
Yeah.
And these things, for me, they are taboos that I'm talking about.
Sure.
I have so many enemies and I have so many friends, but that's what I believe in. What I believe in is what I give. What my mother gave me is what I'm giving. And that is it. There is no minimum standard. That is the minimum standard. There is nothing less, there is nothing more. Okay. So for those of you who are given very good practices, behaviors and traits and norms, and you have not passed them to your children and the people around you, shame on you.
Should we sing for them? Shame upon
shame
you.
Upon you. Shame upon you.
Interesting. So, what is the one thing that you still desire to do in this field that you feel this I have not yet come to, then I can reach my 23 years of age and retire?
And retire.
Yeah.
I have not made health diets available.
Oh, okay.
I preach the consumption of health diets, but I know that many people do not have easy access to them. That is my dream, and that is my next step.
So
I have talked about food.
yeah.
I have talked about people eating healthy. I have talked about the governance of the
Earlier,
food system.
I was telling you that I met someone who is not from Uganda, and while I was telling them, I don't know how people live on bread. People live the way they live. You eat an apple, and it has no taste. People in those other countries that think are very developed. So you spend some time and you've not eaten soup. So in a conversation with a friend, I was like, everyone out here, outside of Uganda, especially outside of Africa, needs to come to Uganda and taste the pineapple, taste our soup, taste our offals to understand what is in food.
What food
is. And this person told me there might be a lot of food. This is a person who has maybe never been to Africa. They had never been to Africa before, and their first message was, there might be a lot of food, but it's not nutritious.
She has no idea. She has grown up in engineered food, and she thinks nutrients are engineered.
Yes.
And more
for an egg to have more protein added in an egg.
In an egg. Stupid. More often than not,
yes.
More often than not, people do not want to get rid. One, he or she never had hope that he would come to Uganda.
Yeah.
Then two, he had an attitude about Uganda and Africa. And then he was looking for something technical to throw it on your face.
Absolutely.
I need to meet that person. She will regret. He will regret because we still have a very good food system.
Yes.
We still have very natural foods. The foods that are not tampered with. On Easter weekend, one of my brothers brought me potatoes from the village. I don't eat dinner, but the other day I found the potatoes cooked and I ate.
Yeah.
You feel the taste. Food is not about to fill the stomach.
Yes.
Food is music. When you're eating your food, it is playing some music to you.
True,
you really feel it. And all of the enzymes get out of your body to come and process this food, and you optimize the nutrients. So we still have the good food. Please eat that good food. Young people, stop eating things that look like food. Stop making the farmers in Ukraine rich. Eat the potatoes. Eat the potatoes. Eat the cassava. And you make your descendants in the villages rich and keep in shape. Keep healthy because you are what you eat. So if you're eating rolled food, you're also rolled in mind and in body.
Wow. Wow. True, you're right. You had earlier told me that that your getting out of music is that you did not think this would be your life because of maybe that toxicity in it, the industry. So, and also you said you did not like your body, you did not like yourself.
Yeah, those people who saw me by around the early 2000s and before.
Yeah.
When I could stand in a distance away from you, you could not tell whether I'm facing you or I'm facing the other side. I was very slim because of the activities that I was doing.
Yeah.
The dancing, the running around, and all that. And true, I used not to love my body.
Okay.
And I used not to wear trousers then. Wow. Even when I was at the university, I would wear these flowing trousers. We used to call them skatimpali. You know, simply because when I could put on a tight trouser, we would say a squirrel, when somebody's running after a squirrel, it can run through your legs and do a turn back. But that was perception. Yeah. That was my perception because I knew beauty of an African woman is also associated with some bit of shape, curves. And that is who we are as Africans. We should not labor to be other people. True. Because they are not labeling. These days they are labeling. These days they are labeling to
but
grow
then they were not.
But then they were not. So I really believed that an African woman who I desired to be must be having some curves of some nature, and you grow up.
Yeah,
When you're still
absolutely, yes.
young, please live your age and live it to the fullest. And then when you graduate into another age bracket, be it. Be
True,
it.
true.
Of course, if you're 40 and you still want to walk like a stick, also, yeah, no. No, no, women, we deposit some fats
Yeah.
on our hips and on our breasts, and because we are women, and especially because we are African women, let us stand up with our heads high and compete and compete in our true definition of beauty. There is
True.
no universal definition of beauty. Beauty in Africa is different. Let the beauty in Europe be. That is their beauty, because they cannot be of what they do, what they are not.
True, true.
It can't be of what they are not.
So Miss Agnes, as we conclude,
Yes.
what is your future plan? What is your dream for the food in Uganda,
Yes.
and then also for the whole food rights advocates?
My dream. You've reminded me. Somebody met somebody at one of the embassies in Uganda.
Yes.
And somebody made a comment about me that that person knows I'm a very ambitious person. That sometimes I think he watches me in a distance and sees that I'm pushing on things like I'm walking through a thick wall.
Yeah.
Yes, I have walking through the thick walls. But my dream for a food system, I need a just and equitable food system.
Yes.
Everybody should take an equitable share of the adequacy food that you need, because there is no standard unit of there is no universal standard unit of the food. Our bodies demand different foods, but all what is required is the food that you need to nourish your body and live a healthy life. The children have their different foods, the young, the women in reproductive age, the aged, the men, depending on what you do and who you are. So I really dream to live in a just and equitable food system where each one of us takes a fair share. I dream to recruit everybody in this crusade of the right to adequate food.
Yes.
I dream to recruit everybody. And you who has watched this show, I'm counting you as among those that I have recruited. The people that are going to look at food not just as something on the plate. When you look at food, you ask some questions about that food. You think about the journeys and miles the food has moved. But you also think about those that have not had the privilege that you have
yes,
to eat that food.
Eat that food.
Don't overeat. Don't overeat.
I thought you were telling us to eat.
Yes, don't. You know the Bible that I read
Yes.
prohibit us from
Glutton.
overdoing anything, including righteousness. So please don't overeat, because also when you overeat, you're inviting non-communicable diseases. And the next destination, you know that better. So please, that's my dream. I want to recruit you, and Donna, you're now my new recruits.
I'm a disciple already.
And
so to the policy makers and decision makers of this country, for the last seemingly 4 or 5 years, there's been a climate change in this country. Our seasons that have been seasons of plenty have turned. We no longer know when the rains are coming, when the hot season is going to be around. And long time ago, as you were saying, long time is just like 20, 30 years ago, there used to be, radio used to have announcements of there is a shift in weather. So farmers, you should go and plant this, the season should start now. Because of the change, farmers are still using what they used, where they used to plant in March, they're still planting in March, which definitely has shifted. And the meteorologists of this country, the policy makers of this country have not been vocal about this, because we know definitely the climate is the food. So what is your
let me make pitch? 2 things clear first.
Yes.
People should stop thinking that farmers are stupid. Farmers are investors. and they are making very conscious investment decisions. These narratives that we are pushing in the corridors of power, we are just imagining them.
Okay.
The issues of climate change, we are talking about them. The farmers are living them.
Yes.
They are living that real life.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you, we have let them down. My mother, Princess Beautiful Nalongo,
Yes.
says that for her, when she listens to the radio, and the radio says don't plant, she wakes up very early in the morning and she plants. When the radio says plant, she doesn't plant, because meteorology is a nightmare. Meteorology across the world is a nightmare, and our meteorology unit is poorly capacitated.
Yes.
It doesn't have up-to-date technology. But also, weather is about God. God will always remain supreme. You can't predict. I was in Washington, and they had warned us that we are waking up to snow, and the whole streets were dry. And that is when I learned that meteorology is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
But the other thing is food or hunger and malnutrition is a governance issue. I repeat, hunger and malnutrition is a governance issue. One of the prominent philosophers that I follow is called Amartya Sen, wrote and said, in democracies, there is no hunger. The moment you see hunger in a country, just know that there are questions on democracy, there are questions on governance. You scared?
Thank you.
It is true.
It's eye-opening.
Hunger and malnutrition is a governance issue. The challenges of hunger and malnutrition we are living in Uganda and elsewhere, let me start with Uganda, are governance issues. How come in Uganda we have a 20-year-old food and nutrition policy? 20-year-old food and nutrition policy. It is the food and nutrition policy of 2003.
Wow.
In Uganda, people attempted to draft a law on food in 2009.
Wow.
It is not referred to as a bill because it never found its way in Parliament. There is no motivation whatsoever in the governance corridor. We have had all of the laws, stupid and useful. They have all come through Parliament. But nobody has stood up firm to ask ourselves, why is it that we do not have a law on food? The absence of a law on food in this country means two things.
Yes.
Nobody is accountable because the law defines the institution that is responsible for me and you to feed adequately. An institution that is responsible to plan. An institution that is responsible to predict, to sanction, and so on and so forth. We do not have a law. It remained a draft. It has never come on the floor of Parliament. Last financial year, this country used more than 300 billion on ad hoc responses to hunger. When hunger is not a disaster, Donna, hunger is not a disaster. If your people in your house are not going to eat today, you cannot say a disaster befell my house. People, no, because you know they must eat. So every time there is a hunger, we are living in hunger in this country. But any time there is a hunger prominence occasioned in this country, you see people struggling to form a committee, a ad hoc committee. And then that ad hoc committee is headed by a certain minister of some sort. Then they run into Parliament and they ask for a supplementary budget. And you know how we are using our supplementary budgets in this country. So, you are hungry. You who has watched this show. Those pictures that we saw in Karamoja, they are not suggesting that the people of Karamoja are lazy. They are suggesting that we have a terrible illness in the governance system for hunger and nutrition in this country.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Agnes. That is so passionate. That is a fire I had not yet found. Now I found it. Thank you so much.
Why did you take me that far? I was a calm girl.
No,
you came to talk about.
That is the fire of an advocate.
Oh no! Oh no. Do you
So
know what it means to be hungry until when you drop dead?
Yeah.
When there is a sitting government,
True,
do you know what it means?
True. So Agnes, as you come
And
down,
somebody doesn't resign? Oh no.
true, as you come down, kindly, let's have your last remarks for this show, and maybe we shall have another show where we shall come here and explain to everyone out there the need for
A
food
governance system.
and a governance system that works. So in your last words, Agnes.
My last words
Yes.
are, of course, let me speak to the women and
Yeah.
the girls out
Yes.
there. I give you courage. We are 51% of Uganda's population.
Yeah.
We are such a very good number. In our physiological makeup, God made us with 6 senses, and the men have 5 senses. We have the ability to turn around this world.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so the men in our lives, our brothers, our fathers, our employers, our husbands, boyfriends, and sorts of those such things, all what you need to turn around your life is to bring a woman that you're going to give a conducive environment. Your life is just going to turn around because we have 6 senses. Our strength is in this beautiful, seemingly weak body.
Yes.
That is our strength.
Yes.
And I know for the men, Donna, things that really make men very happy is nothing but women, and then perhaps money follows. Big ups, girls out there, and
Yes.
the women, please speak courage, turn anything around you into an opportunity, because when a woman is given an opportunity, you've given that opportunity to the entire world.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Agnes. It has been a pleasure to host you. And to all our viewers, I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm Donna Keirungi, your today's host of the show Women at the Front Lines. I thank you so much, and pleasure.